The Cubs take an extra innings game in San Diego, setting up a rubber match with the Padres on Wednesday. But before Tuesday's game, there was a couple of very important roster moves that allow me to overanalyze and put on my conspiracy hat. So let's talk about it today on the Cubs Daily Podcast. Couple of moves before Tuesday's game. Nate Pearson optioned to AAA, Eli Morgan to the IL with elbow discomfort. Luke Little and Daniel Palencia were both called up to the majors. Now, are those two guys going to be saviors of this bullpen? I don't really think so, but they're options. Somebody has to step up in this pen, and the only way to figure that out is to take more shots, put more shots up at net, at the board, whatever metaphor you want to use. Little and Palencia both have walk rates above 12% at AAA. Little's is up around 18%. Small samples, sure, but this is being added to a bullpen that has the 7th highest walk rate among relievers in Major League Baseball this season entering Tuesday. But let's be honest here. What are the other options? Tyson Miller and Ryan Brazier are the ones that I think can make a material difference, and they're getting close but not immediately ready. There kinda aren't any other names of note. Frankie Scalzo is kind of a fun sweeper righty we saw in spring training. Cade Horton at AAA is a starting pitcher for now. And listen, I think the Cubs did a pretty good job shoring up the bullpen this offseason. Should they have went to the 4th year on Tanner Scott quicker and battled the Dodgers for the best leverage reliever, closing pitcher, whatever you want to call him on the market, the stud, the guy that would have made you more confident in the 9th inning? Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. It's the most obvious thing they could have done to make this team better right now. And you could still have acquired a Presley-like option with Scott. Sure, maybe Presley specifically would have vetoed the trade because he wouldn't have been the closer. That was part of the trade coming over to the Cubs. But there were other Presleys out there that could have fit the bill if he wouldn't have accepted a trade. David Robertson, for example, is still surprisingly available today. But are you now ready for conspiracy theory Lance? This is something I've never done before. I almost feel like Craig Counsell's usage in certain situations over the last few seasons is just him making a point to the front office and to ownership that he needs better in-between bullpen pieces, let's call them. On Monday, we're in a leveraged spot, right? Hodge and Presley are both being used for the 8th and 9th inning, most likely. Julian Merriweather is down. The option Counsell has is Nate Pearson or Eli Morgan. And if we want velocity versus a pocket of the Padres lineup, all you could kind of roll out is Nate Pearson. Counsell doesn't have another option in that spot, and that option gets demoted the subsequent day to AAA. It stinks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. My point is mainly that I think we way overreact to reliever usage generally, and it's mainly just the quality of relievers that drive the success of a given bullpen, not when specifically they're used. Counsell in 2021 and 2022 with the Brewers had average bullpens. In 2023, he had one of the best bullpens in the sport. I would imagine that you'd consider Counsell an average bullpen manager in 21 and 22 when he had average bullpens, and an exceptional one in 2023 when he had an exceptional bullpen. Has a manager ever been considered a poor bullpen manager with the best bullpen ERA in the sport? I doubt it. Last year, the Cubs bullpen was average despite the horrid May and June they had, and this year, once again, it's tracking to be an average bullpen. So maybe we're just so caught up in the day-to-day of the sport that it's hard to realize that a top 5 bullpen is still going to allow more than 3 runs, right around there at least, every 9 innings or so. But you look at a team like the Guardians, top 10 bullpen each of the last 6 seasons. Kind of an insane stat. And they're already tracking for top 10 again this year to push that to 7. That's the organization that Carter Hawkins polished, helped grow, and turns into the powerhouse from a bullpen standpoint they've been. And man, what I would give to have guys like Cade Smith, Hunter Gaddis, Emmanuel Clase on a team like the Cubs right now. But man, what am I doing complaining about the bullpen in a win? I get it. But I just think it's going to have implications as we move into the weekend. 3 home series back-to-back coming up for the Cubs against some pretty good teams. These small peripheral guys on the edges I think are going to matter a lot in situations where maybe the Cubs are down 3 and need to hold the game tight to have a chance to come back and have to turn to a guy like Luke Little or a Daniel Palencia. And then we will see the true test of whether those walk rates from AAA really matter. But the most surprising roster move from Tuesday was the demotion of Matt Shaw back to AAA. This is a tough one. First round pick, success everywhere he's played. The Cubs gave him a shot in the bigs and he's going to grow from this for sure. It's a wacky swing, though. There's just nobody else that looks like him in the majors, in a sport that, for the most part, I think has become monotonous from a hitting standpoint over the last few years, as data on the hitting side starts to inform us of what's optimal for a hitter. Now, yeah, in my dream world, I would have loved to have made whatever change they're going to make down at AAA this offseason instead of right now, whether it be a timing change, a mechanical change, whatever. Maybe that would have given Shaw a better shot to succeed from the jump this season. But this is much easier said than done, I think. Organizations, I believe overall, are very hesitant to aggressively tweak successful hitters that are first-round talents that they pay nearly $5 million in signing bonus to, especially when they trade away a guy like Cam Smith for Kyle Tucker. And even if they won't say it and come out and say it, they kind of need Shaw to be the better player, or at least re-sign Tucker, but that's a completely different story for another day. I think the primary issue I see with Shaw's profile is that he doesn't really have bat speed. He doesn't swing hard. He doesn't have great exit velocities. He clearly has discipline at the plate, which I think is a fantastic building block. A lot of hitters in baseball are able to be exceptional with that as a tool and average bat speed. But I just think when you don't have that average bat speed, the ability to hit the ball hard, create hard contact, double, etc., you have to be an exceptional bat-to-ball hitter or an exceptionally disciplined hitter to become an above-average hitter overall. And if you're getting to power, you're probably pulling the ball a ton, which I don't think is the natural groove of Matt Shaw's swing. The problem here is that bat speed training usually comes in the offseason. It's a bit more of a difficult thing to program in season. I don't believe teams really do it at all, maybe just from a maintenance standpoint, but not from an improvement standpoint. So I wonder whether the move at AAA is just to recalibrate him from a timing perspective. He was pretty bad versus fastballs in this stint in the majors. And I send him back down, see if you can eke out average production for this season before overhauling maybe his swing or other mechanical things into next season. For now, it's going to be a mix of Gage Workman and John Birdie, I believe, at third base. Both comfortably average to above average defensively. That's not going to be the problem. I think it's more from the stick side of things. Birdie's more of a contact hitter, Gage Workman more of a high strikeout power guy. That bat angle there, right? Workman and Birdie being below average is why Shaw was such a tantalizing option at the hot corner, because even if the defense was below average from Shaw, the Cubs defense elsewhere was so good that it didn't seem like it would matter too much if third base was a liability again, especially if Shaw was an average hitter. But enough of my rambling, which I've done a lot on this podcast. Perhaps different than prior podcasts, but every now and then I got to get on my soapbox. Here's Craig Counsell, followed by Jed Hoyer, pregame Tuesday on the Shaw demotion.
I think, if you're a Major League Baseball player, you're going to face adversity, you're going to struggle, and to realize that, like, right around the corner from that is growth, and that's how you get better. And so he's going to get better from this. He's going to look back on this and say, I learned a lot from that experience, and I learned a lot from the struggle or the adversity, and that's how you have to take it. It's great. The game is great about, like, presenting challenges to you, like, constantly. And we don't always get to like the challenge that's put in front of us. Sometimes it's like a fun one, and sometimes it's a tough one. And this is a tough one for him, but he'll handle it great, and be the player that he knows he can be and that we expect him to be.
Pretty much. I mean, we look at Schwarber, Happ, Rizzo, Javi, all those guys have gone back at some point, and this is part of it. It's just really hard to break into the big leagues, and even guys that sometimes seem like they had established themselves need to go back at some point for a reset. So I don't look at this as a negative. It's almost part of the process, and I'm sure he learned a lot. We faced a lot of really good pitching. Obviously, it's been a great learning experience for him, and I think he has the kind of head on his shoulders. I think he'll take what he learned, go back down to Iowa, think about it, and I think he'll come back, better and more ready to go. And I think that when you look at all the guys that I just mentioned, that Craig mentioned, I think all of them, at the time were not thrilled about it, and then I think all of them later on would admit that it's probably the right thing at that point, because I do think that this league is unrelenting, and I think at times you just need to take a step back before you can take a step forward.
As for the Cub game today, big win, 2-1, 10-inning game First extras of the season for the Cubs. Insanely big triple in the 10th inning from Nico Hoerner scores the proverbial ghost runner at second base. He then gets stranded, Nico Hoerner does, at third, which was pretty brutal. I thought two pretty tough ABs from John Birdie and Miguel Amaya. Bottom of the 10th, however, Caleb Thielbar comes in and closes out the game for his first save as a Cub. Luis Arias, first pitch swinging after Jose Iglesias steals third base. Kind of one of the higher leverage fun moments on the road for the Cubs this season, I would say. I thought Arias was going to work the AB. I knew he would put something in play. He just never strikes out. It just happened to be at left fielder Ian Happ. And the Cubs go on to win the game, and now are 12-8 heading into the rubber match that I mentioned. Jumping back into that game specifically, Shota worked out of jams in the 3rd and 4th inning. 5th inning was kind of a mess for him. Manny Machado up. Machado fouls a ball to right field that glances off Kyle Tucker's glove, ruled an error. Machado, same AB, then pops one straight up that isn't caught by Gage Workman. I kind of thought it was Miguel Amaya's ball, but it's a tough spot if Amaya didn't see the ball. And then a pitch later, Manny Machado takes a misplaced fastball out to left field. So that's the reason why this game went to extra innings. Otherwise, it probably would have been a Presley save in the bottom of the 9th. And the Cubs take it away. Final line for Shota was 5 innings, 4 hits, unearned runs, 7 strikeouts, and 3 walks. Not the best start, again, but I thought he looked pretty good overall. Presley and Hodge also looked pretty good overall. I'm still kind of on this Ryan Presley not missing bats as a slightly concerning point to me. I know he's not going to be the Craig Kimbrell of closers in terms of strikeouts, but I still think a closer needs to have some better level of swing and miss and not put the ball in play so much. But I'm giving him time. I know I've been critical on him. I do think he's able to bounce back. I'd love to see the velo jump up. You know, I know our guy Ryan Dempster is pretty confident in that because he's done it before, and I do believe re-accessing a level you've already been at is probably easier than pushing to somewhere you've never been. And Ryan Presley has obviously a ton of experience in the 9th inning. Tomorrow is Nick Pivetta versus Matthew Boyd in the rubber match. Boyd has been great for the Cubs so far, and the Cubs got to Pivetta last time out, although it was a cold day at Wrigley Field. Tomorrow also, the 11 through 20 prospects of my Cubs top 30 prospects drops on Marquee Sports Network.com. I'm excited to share that and break it down. We'll probably have a section of the podcast, potentially Wednesday, maybe Friday, that digs in a bit to my list. But we've had a lot to talk about on the Major League side, which is a good thing. So that's what I've primarily focused this podcast on. 3:30 Central first pitch tomorrow. We will see you then. Check out the Marquee Sports Network app as well as MarqueeSportsNetwork.com for all of our fantastic coverage, and we'll see you then.